When we come on, hello. Thank you for joining me for tonight's live yoga for relaxation. So, we're going to take it a little bit different. If you did not see the post earlier, I went into a little description of the difference of restorative yoga versus yin yoga, which can differ greatly, but from afar, they can almost seem like one and the same, but then up close there are, they would say like it's the details. There are these little things that can make it different. So if you do not know what restorative yoga is, or maybe you've heard of it but you haven't tried it, restorative yoga is a wonderful yoga for any time of day. You could be cold, you could be warm, you could have just finished a workout. Versus yin yoga, um, it's preferred that your body is still cold, that you haven't had another workout yet. And both these styles of yoga are very slow, but restorative uses a lot of props, which is the blocks, the blankets, the pillows. Yin, you don't have to have all of these props in most classes. I'll be honest, I don't see a lot of instructors using a lot of props, but it's all about gaining mobility, getting a deep stretch, going deeper within self, and you actually end up getting deep down into your fascia, which is just all this nice little tissue that's connected in the muscles. And if you don't get a lot of movement in, if you don't, run or walk, or if you're doing a lot of sitting, it can be what also can cause our muscles to and our bodies just to tighten up. The fascia can kind of like dry out. So if you're doing yin yoga, it works on kind of, I say, greasing things up a bit, and you gain flexibility, mobility by default by getting into this fascia, which is why they don't want the body to already be warmed up if you're getting in there. And it can vary in how many poses you do, it can vary in how long you sit in a pose, but it's more than just transitions, it's the pose itself, which is also what restorative does. It's not so much worried about the transitions. It's for a great stretch, promotion of circulation and blood flow. And you may or may not actually have your restorative practice turn into a yin practice, depending on the minutes and how far you go and whatnot, or if you're not using props. But for most people, it's just a nice stretch. The body gets to relax, allow the body to really open, and you have all this support system from the props. So for today's class, we're actually going to play a little bit with that. So if you are like me and you have any sort of objects on for this class, we are going to stay a little bit lower on the mat. So you might want to get rid of any or put aside any sunglasses or bracelets. Thank you to my wonderful sister who got me this wonderful chakra and remembrance bracelet for mi gato. So my cat that recently passed away. So I thank you. And he only passed away in physical form though, right? And then if you have your watch, depending on how comfortable you are, if you're wearing it or not, building new habits. So then we'll get started. So we're going to go through, and basically the theme of tonight's practice is going to be going a little bit deeper. So if you don't necessarily need a mat for this practice, you could do these moves and poses on a bed. You can do them adaptively on a chair. And just really, taking the form and the basics of the moves and adapting it as you need it. So say we're going to do a thread the needle, and maybe on the bed, so you normally thread the needle, the tail is up, our arms are swooping under the opposite arm. If you're seated and you are in a chair, maybe instead of swooping that arm on the floor, you swoop that arm and rest it on the thigh, and your other arm is elongated or up towards the sky, and your elbow is unbent, so you're still getting that stretch through the shoulders and upper body. So that's just one way to adapt the pose. And I'm going to go through so you have these options. Maybe it's an adaptive pose, maybe it's restorative, maybe you like to use blocks and pillows and blankets to help open and ease you up, or maybe it's a yin practice with no blankets and you're kind of pushing yourself, you're welcoming some heat into the body with the poses. So find whatever you're deciding to do and use to adapt yourself with this book. Mine will actually be kind of somewhere in between. I'm pretty sure my body's cold enough that it practice actually. Maybe more of a yin practice for myself. Because I wanted to work out today, but I have to be up so early on Fridays. I noticed that my Thursday workouts do not set me up for wins on Fridays. So we're gonna get started today. We're just gonna start a little soft, a little easy. Always, as usual in classes, bringing awareness into your breath, welcoming that connection with breath. Most practices, I would say, if you have a playlist or some music, definitely do it. But tonight, if you may, if you dare, if you can, don't have any additional music or white noise or any playlists in the background. Restorative yoga and yin, and yoga in general, I've mentioned this before, back in history, was done with no music. It really allowed you to sit with your thoughts, and restorative is very much like that. Or yin, you can get in a pose and it feel comfortable, and then after, not so much. So we're just going to do about 3 or 4 poses tonight. We're going to start with something nice and just kind of flowing into it. So we're going to go ahead, so depending on what you're saying, if you would like a bolster or something, we're going to start a nice easy seated pose here. So you're just going to have the legs, crossed or in front of one another. And, if you want to be lifted up a little bit, you're more than welcome to have that. If you'd like to take a more restorative approach, you could have a pillow or a bolster or a pillow folded over, so that when we go forward fold, you have this nice kind of restful thing with you to rest on, your forehead, your body, what may have you on. If you'd like to go a little more intense, which is what I believe, going to choose to do, then you don't have to use anything at all. You can, you want to stretch, not strain, but it's just a nice way to get started. So starting a little bit unconventional. Have the legs out in front of you, have them nice and cozy. Connecting with that breath. And we're going to be here. Usually I would have these timed, but we're going to be here just to pass the point of really getting in and digging into the body. Or maybe I will set a nice little timer. So don't worry about the time. I will watch for that time. Our first pose of the night is going to be the seated forward fold. So you just have to work on, take your time going into position. The arms will creep away, and you want to really think about folding over from the hips and waist up, so that you really feel that spine and crown are lengthening, elongate, and get comfortable, get within the body, and really just breathe into this whole portion of the body, the arms, the center, the spine, and let your body naturally just fall deeper into the pose. So work on getting into your seated forward fold. I'm going to work on getting a nice little timer. And we are, because it is nice, a lot of these practices are timed. Support your body however you would like or need. It's so funny. I had a watch on and I'm trying to get over here getting a whole laptop for this. But yeah, do what you need to get cozy and in position. Let any noises that may be outside of your whatnot just kind of drift away as you focus on breathing, releasing any tightness and tension as you get settled into your position. We're going to be here for just a little while in that forward fold here. So just take your time, find your breath. start to find the last few breaths in your seated forward fold, connecting, lengthening, welcoming this nice stretch. No worry, no need to worry about the screen. Just breathe into your body. And then when you're ready, you're going to gently start to walk the hands back, still lengthening through the crown, the neck, and the spine. Allowing yourself to come back up to a nice seated position. And just be slow, be mindful of the body. We're going to prepare for the next pose. So we're going to go ahead and release the legs. Getting a nice V shape here. You're going to do your best to maybe take the legs as wide as what you find a good stretch, but not straining. If you would like to have blocks underneath, the thighs or the knees, that's okay. If you have something underneath the heels for a little support, feel free to do that. Otherwise, that would be more restorative. You could also then have blocks raised up to put your arms upon or rest your forehead on if you have blocks. Or you could do the same with bolster or pillows and pile up the pillows and the blankets and fold over onto those. So it's really up to you. That would be another bit more restorative practice. If you'd like to dabble in that yin, you're going to go ahead, take the legs out, feel a nice stretch. And then once again, connect with your breath. We're going to go into another easy seated forward fold, or seated forward fold, I should say. Connect and just take your time, folding from the waist over. The body will adjust and loosen and do what it needs to lengthen and gain more mobility and flexibility through time. If you decide to do a restorative practice just for a gentle stretch, you could do that, every day. Just keep it gentle, keep it light. If you're looking to do a yin practice, you may want to hold it just to about 2 or 3 times a week, just because it can be a little more intense. So you may feel some new sensations in the body. But just take your time. So you could always come back and do the same practice in a couple days or whatnot. Day or 2 or 3, what have you. And just take your time, once again, folding over. Breathe. You're going to welcome that lengthening. You want to make sure you don't hunch, but that's why you take your time with the body. With every breath, it will naturally fold. The body will open. And then you'll start to just enjoy this moment, whether you're using blocks for support or pillow or bolster or covers layered on top of each other. Just connect, close the eyes, and let go. Breathe in to any parts and pieces of the body that are really feeling tense or tight, or like they don't want to loosen, or they don't want to give, or they don't want to open. Just take your time and excuse me, a little sneeze. So just take your time into the wide leg forward fold. Take a moment to find your last few breaths And this wide leg forward fold. Connect with self and body. And then gently start to take your time with every breath. Bringing the hands back to center. Being slow and steady. Letting go of anything that you need. We're going to gently bring our legs close back to center. You can use the hands to support the legs. Gently move them into center. Once they're at center, we'll take a little windshield wiper to the right. Just let the knees fall for a moment and stretch. Just to give a little bit of movement and shake, and then take it to the opposite side. And we're going to go high. We're going to gently come onto the knees. So we're going to get into a nice, let's say a nice gentler version of frog pose. So this is, again, if you have a pillow you would like to lay on, you could fold it. If you have a bolster, you could layer a couple or a few pillows. You could layer a couple or a few blankets. Frog pose can be quite an interesting pose, so definitely be gentle, be easy with yourself. And there are different variations. I'm going to keep mine a little more gentle tonight. So you want to allow the knees, the hips, the lower body to open and widen out to sides. And it is a little bit like the hero pose or superhero pose, but instead of leaning back, we're going to go forward. So eventually what you want to have is that you're kind of on the front inside of the leg out to one side, and then you do the same with the leg out to the other side, and the bottom half of your leg just starts to allow you to go straight down, and you're going to drop down to the floor with your inner thighs, and it can be a very intense if you're tight. So you may want to start just on the shins, taking your time, and it'll be one of those other poses where we're going to fold over and onto the forearms, or you could have the fingers intertwined. And you just want to be really, really gentle as as you're dropping your tail towards the mat, because eventually what you would have is you would be maybe completely on belly and chest. Your legs would be all the way out to sides on that inside front side of leg, and you're really opening up through that center. So if you have a bolster or blanket or whatnot here, it's almost as if your thighs will then at some point, if depending on body, will really start to open, and more of the thigh will connect with the mat. So just be gentle, because that can be pretty interesting pose. And you may have your feet kind of closer together, but you really want to let them out to either side and loose. Your tail may be higher, that's okay, especially if you're feeling tight today. And then just take your time once again, adjusting the body, maybe coming onto forearms or having fingers intertwined. And we're just going to hold here. Your vision will go down to floor. And if your body is calling for an adjustment, feel free to make that adjustment, get realigned, connect, engage the core. If you choose to take it a little more yin than restorative, then just breathe. This can seem, I would say, almost as a nice intermediate pose and position. Just connect with your breath. Use and do what you need to support yourself. And we'll have 2 more after this. And close the eyes to connect with your breath. This is a really good one if you're just working on hip openers and opening up through the inner thighs and hip flexors. This is also a really good one if you're working on like the splits or any other pose. They all assist in the neck. So it's a wonderful, interesting thing to understand. But really just really breathe here, in and out. And you want your arms to support you, but don't put too much pressure or whatnot on the shoulders. So just keep it nice and long. Take a Few more breaths here. Another minute or so. Few more breaths. Start to connect with your breath. Maybe release your hands if they're intertwined. Take your time, go very slow, piece by piece. Breathing, using your hands to then connect maybe with mat and lift you up. Take your time, moving very slow, releasing one leg out. Maybe going on to one side and then the other. We're going to go ahead and bring both knees nice and slow in alignment with the hips. And we're going to do a couple more poses to bring a little bit more focus and awareness on the upper body. So as I mentioned earlier, a nice thread the needle. So there's different options there. You could take the tail back over the shins and just take the arm underneath and have a more gentle thread the needle with the opposite arm getting support. That would be more of a restorative. If you want to go for the yin, we're going to come up on all fours. We're going to start with that right arm first. We're going to go ahead and maybe get a nice stretch out to side. Then you're going to take it underneath the left armpit. You're going to keep that tail raised. You're going to drop down on your right temple and shoulder. And then just work with your body. Connect and breathe. Take that left arm wherever it is calling you. You may not want to have it raised to, well, you may or may not. It's up to you. Wherever that arm would like to go. Connect and breathe. It's really about where your body is comfortable with, and then getting past those comforts, going outside of your comfort zone, using your breath to allow you to remember how strong you really are. And that moving out of your comfort zone can be renewing, revitalizing, motivating, and exciting. Stay here for another few breaths. And then when you're ready, continue to stay connected to breath. We're going to take it to the opposite side now. Be gentle with the body. Raise up. We're going to go from right to left now. So now maybe that left arm stretches out to side. Then we're going to thread the needle with that left arm. You're going to drop down onto that left shoulder and temple. Finding your yin or restorative, thread the needle. Start to connect with your breath once again. Inhale and exhaling. And then gently start to release from your thread the needle. We're going to gently find release off the arms. We're going to find our tail. And our last pose for tonight, for this lovely restorative yin, just a little bit of showcase, I guess, is we're going to go into our shavasana, our moment of peace. So, kind of wiggle or move anything that you need. If you Feel you're looking for a little bit more balance in the body. If you take the legs from one side to the other, that may welcome a little bit more balance and equilibrium. You could always raise the arms up to sky and then overhead, welcoming a nice full body stretch as you go down into Shavasana. It's going to work that little core. Or you can wait until you're down on your back and then take a full body stretch. So that's an option also. And we'll be here for a little bit of time. Take any little gentle movements or motions that you need. Connect with that breath. Let go. And relax. Enjoy this moment for peace. As you enjoy this moment of stillness and peace, if you have time, feel free to stay within your Shavasana, your moment of peace, this moment of relaxation, as long as you like. Otherwise, if you are ready to gently ease out of pose and position, may you be slow and steady and gentle with welcoming awareness into all the bits and pieces of the body. Gentle toe wiggles or finger wiggles. Maybe gentle sways or movements of legs or hips or arms. With every breath, eventually welcoming the physical awareness back to the body. Still allowing an overwhelming sense of calm and peace and renewal to stay with the body, mind, thoughts, and spirit. Connect with those last few breaths. Be gentle when opening the eyes. And thank you for joining me for another night of Yoga for Rest. This was our little dabble in restorative and yin practice. Thank you. If you have any questions, please reach out at any time, and then I will see you soon. So take your time. Do what you need for yourself.